Good afternoon, friends, and welcome back to the Aura News broadcast. I'm Daniel Cook, your host, 6 days a week at 6 p.m. for a translated version of the Albanian news. In today's news, the supply of electricity, the competition from the black market, and the corrupt practices were identified as the top business environment obstacles in Albania, according to a new analysis by the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, or the EBRD. Despite recent improvements in the energy sector, electricity issues remain one of the key obstacles for the enterprise in Albania. According to the new report, competition from the black market is an obstacle as well for small and medium-sized enterprises, and corruption was identified as the biggest problem for large enterprises. In addition to this data, the tax administration and limited access to land were among the chief constraints for young enterprises, the report says. Albania was the first country to sign up for the EBRD's Investment, Climate and Governance Initiative. Across the whole transitional region, the single largest complaint from the managers was unfair competition from the black market economy, in which companies are not always registered or they seek to avoid taxes by underreporting their revenue, their number of employees, or the wages that they pay. This issue was seen as the most severe obstacle to enterprise by nearly one-third of the countries surveyed by the EBRD. Access to electricity was the most problematic for companies in Albania and several other countries. Complaints were focused primarily on the reliability of electricity supply, the linked power outages in Central Asia, and on high electricity prices in Central Europe and the Baltic states. The same three issues had topped the list of complaints in the 2008-2009 survey, although in the previous questionnaire, access to finances had come out on top, with competition from the black market taking the second position. The law on state holdings in public companies was discussed today in today's plenary session, as well as some changes to the bill on the value-added tax. The opposition proposed a reduction of the VAT on energy from 20% to only 6%, but the majority members rejected the proposal. The head of the Democratic group, Eddie Poloka, had this to say: "The economy of our country is going through difficult times. The newest fiscal package has increased taxes. We must reduce the VAT on energy. We propose a reduction from 20% down to 6%. This reduction will not affect the performance of the energy distributors." The Democrats asked for the support of the majority, reminding them that this was a promise that the majority made during the electoral campaign. The former Prime Minister Sali Berisha said that the government must be lenient concerning energy debts. He said, "You have signed no agreements up to this point, and this is a failure. You have two options: reducing the VAT on energy down to 6% or returning the 300 kilowatt protective tier. A level of amnesty for those who have energy arrears is very important. The government must pay the bills of those who cannot pay," said Berisha. The majority responded by saying that the IMF is against any adjustment of the VAT on energy. The Minister of Energy blamed the opposition for creating a pyramid system. The minister said that the increase of revenue and the reduction of losses are the key for the financial stability in this sector. He gave assurance that the level of losses will be 32% by the end of the year, and that the obligations of the state to the private companies will be paid within 6 months. Mr. Berisha returned again to the issue of removing the mandate of the socialist MP, Kocho Kokodhima. According to Berisha, Kokodhima is being defended by Rama and Meta. He said that this issue should have been discussed in today's session. According to him, Kokodhima has violated the law on state and urban planning. The socialist MP, Kokodhima, was not present when the former prime minister spoke. He did appear at the plenary session, but only after Mr. Berisha had left. The European Union has expressed the hope that the case of Mark Froku will be investigated impartially and that the truth will be revealed as soon as possible. The spokeswoman of the EU Foreign Policy Representative says that the EU is monitoring the entire process. According to her, the EU is following Froku's case with great interest, and it hopes for a fair and quick investigation. She said that the EU believes that the decriminalization of Parliament is directly connected to the rule of law. On this matter, the EU advises all the MPs to follow the agreement of December 2014. The former Prime Minister, Sali Berisha, has accused the government of being involved in multiple scandals. He referred to some recent claims by the Belgian media, which say that the architect Peter Swinnen will be investigated for abuse of funding. Peter Swinnen won the bid for the project on the Skanderbeg Square in Tirana, as well as another important city project in Vlora. Berisha claims that Edi Rama is connected to this. He said that the Belgian media says that the contractor that the Prime Minister chose for the renovation of Skanderbeg Square and for the project in Vlora has violated their laws and regulations. According to the Belgian newspapers, this studio was investigated for the abuse of tenders, and Prime Minister Edi Rama is going to be called as a witness, according to Sali Berisha. Under the new changes in the labor code, after 63 days of maternity leave, a woman may transfer the remaining months of her leave to her husband. The new law also makes it mandatory that a woman who has given birth to a child must take 63 days off from work. The first 6 months of the maternity leave will be paid at the rate of 80% of her normal salary, while the second 6 months will be paid at a 50% rate. After 6 months, a woman may decide whether she wants to return to work or to transfer the remainder of her maternity leave to her husband. The Director of Public Relations in the Ministry of Welfare says that this is only optional, but the first 6 months of leave are obligatory for a woman who has given birth. He said that if she decides to return to work after 63 days, she will work for only 6 hours a day, but will be paid for 8 hours. The new labor law also specifies that 2 weeks of vacation are obligatory for all employees. Employees are not allowed to forego their holidays in order to work. These new changes to the labor law were approved on Wednesday. After the explosion of the oil wells in Marinza, the residents in the area are having health problems because of gas poisoning. A group of doctors in the hospital of Fier is standing by 24 hours a day in readiness for these cases. The doctors say that Bankers Company should have to pay for medical tests for the residents of the area, as it does for its own employees. The doctors are also saying that the psychological stress caused by the situation has further aggravated the health of the residents. The doctors say that they have advised the residents on how to protect themselves from being poisoned in the areas that have been most affected. The citizens of Leja are pointing the finger of blame at their mayor for one of the most polluted areas in their city. The residents are saying that the Beslidia neighborhood is turning into a cesspool of pollution, and they blame it on their mayor, Victor Tushai. The residents say that they are paying their taxes, but nothing is being done to take care of the garbage that is taking over their neighborhood and turning it into a health risk. Some of the residents say that the mayor speaks to them only during the electoral campaign, and that he lies to them about solving their problems just to get their votes. They also express that they have no faith that the situation will change, because the mayor of the city has been saying the same things for 8 years. The current situation does not present a good image for the touristic city of Leja. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all our news for this evening. Thank you very much for joining us. Please be with us again at the same time tomorrow for more Albanian news in English. Thanks, and have a great night.